your boy young, I give him that time. Punch leg stand, punch in America. Banyi dwal, ban. Punch leg stand, punch in America. Banyi dwal, ban. Wo koji leg, kankaro watana watchin. Oga leg, juir kwa ugara leg. Panda wadia punch in America. Banyi dwal bano, chingitongo pandon kujuir baya cheka. Papu panda juir wadia bi dwal. Punch in America, banyi dwal, ban. Punch leg stand.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in to Lagos State Media. Today, we have our guest, Honourable Comrade Pagan Amum Okec, live with us. And just share the video, guys. And when we are sharing the video, will be good. And before we start introducing our guest, we will be having a short music break with our phenomenal people. Oh, thank you so much, the legend, Franco for the great song. We welcome our guest in Lagos State Media. For all our audience, thank you for tuning in. We have the guests in the studio with us this evening, this night, or this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are tuning in, is Honorable General Pagan Amum Okec, was the former Chief Negotiator with the Sudan over post-independent process and South Sudan independence. He was the former Minister for Peace and CPA implementation in the government of South Sudan, former Secretary General of South Sudan ruling party, which is Sudan People Liberation Movement, SPLM, and was the former member of G10, also known as former detainees. And now he is the leader of Real-SPLM, SPLM, General Pagan Amum, General Pagan Okec, welcome to Lagos State Media.
I thank you for inviting me to Lagos State Media. And through you, I thank all your viewers and our people all over the world, wherever they are, inside the country or in diaspora. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General Pagan, for accepting our invitation and being a part of this crucial interview with us. We will just go in straight with the questions that I would like to ask you. Sudan is not in rest for all this time. It's been a lot of chaos and wars and political turmoil. The question is, what do you think of the PCCA for calling popular uprising in South Sudan? Do you think South Sudan is ready for demonstration to remove the current government?
PCCA, People's Coalition for Civic Action, like the Red Card movement before it,
Yes,
are all products of the situation in South Sudan. These are coming out from the crisis of national crisis we are in, from failure of government, and this is a manifestation that the people of South Sudan are reaching a point of awakening, a point of not being able to tolerate any longer the current situation of suffering and of conflict and of economic crisis that resulted from the policies, the failed policies of the current leadership in the country. So is South Sudan ready for demonstrations and for an uprising against the government? Yes. And the objective conditions of suffering of the people are not ready to accept this situation any longer. And as more people come to the realization of what is the cause of all this suffering, and they become aware and conscious about their rights, about how to achieve the dream for which South Sudanese struggles from generation to generation until we achieve our independence, these movements will come up, and the popular movement will get stronger and get united, and demonstration will come up. If you can see, in South Sudan, some few years back, there has been no strikes. But recently, we have witnessed the workers and professionals in the oil fields, in the oil sector, industry, have been on a strike, and they have went on a strike, and this is a new development. Medical doctors have also been on a strike. Teachers have also gone on a strike some time back, and the call and demand for salaries to be paid, for salaries to be increased, even of the public workers. This is a very popular demand, and it is expressing really the position of the people. So what PCCA has done is basically to give expression to these demands by the people. Do not also forget that the very government itself that is in power today, President Kiir, organized a national dialogue conferences all over South Sudan, and the end result of that, the outcome and the recommendation made by the national dialogue was to call on President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar to step aside because they have failed. This is the view of a very large section of our people whom were consulted. Those who were not consulted, who are refugees outside the country or who are internally displaced inside the country, and they are in their millions, definitely their position is much more radical than that because they hold the government responsible for what has happened to them. So yes, the country is ready for demonstrations. The country is ready for change. Then the people are demanding change. The people are calling for change in all the fora. And this is not only those who were opposed to the government, like us, for example. We call for change right from 2013. And we were detained, as you refer to me as one of the former detainees. We were detained precisely because we were calling for change. But today, those who supported President Kiir, even on tribal grounds, back in 2013, 2014, and 2015, today they have joined the call for Kiir to step aside. And I give you the example of Jiang Council of Elders, for example. And this is telling you that the country, the people of South Sudan are coming together, are uniting against the government, despite the policies of tribalism that was used by the current regime to divide our people along tribal lines. But despite all this, today, South Sudanese are much more closer and together and are more united in their thinking of how do they see the future of this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General Pagan Amum, for answering that question. Appreciate that. Another thing or another question is going to, we know you are one of the liberators commanding and fought for the war you participated in. And during the process of CPA, you're one of the signatories of protocol, one of the protocols that came to be CPA, and that CPA says gave us the freedom of referendum, and that gave birth to the country, South Sudan, that we have today. And I want to ask you, Gerald Pagan. You were General Secretary, Secretary General of the ruling party, which is called SPLM. Before war broke out in 2013. You formed after these clashes. You were one of the G10, which is the former detainees, as I put it first. Then you fall out and you rename your political party, the current one that you are leading now, as to be a Real-SPLM. The question is, who are not or who are real SPLM?
Well, the real SPLM are those members of SPLM, including new members, who believe in the vision of the SPLM as articulated by our late leader and founding father of our nation, Dr. John Garang de Mabior. They are those who believe in making the dream of the people of South Sudan come true, the dream of building a peaceful, free, prosperous, just, and democratic country for all, a country that is based on citizenship and rule of law, a new society in which all South Sudanese are united and are equal stakeholders, equal before the law, equal without any discrimination on the basis of tribe or gender or the region you come from. This vision is what we pursue. That is the real vision for which we fought and we struggled. And it is the vision that is articulating the aspiration of the people of South Sudan. That real vision is what defines the real SPLM. Real SPLM is that organization bringing together those who believe in that real vision of the SPLM. And they will be struggling to make that vision come true, to struggle towards realizing that vision. And the real SPLM are those who are committed to the programs of SPLM, including the transitional program of SPLM from war to peace, which was adopted by the SPLM Leadership Council in March 2005. 2005, the leadership of SPLM met in New Site and adopted this strategic program of transition, which is composed of 7 programs. And the real SPLM are those who are committed to implement this transitional program, which will include the building of the state, of a democratic state in South Sudan, a state that is a servant state to the people, a state capable to deliver on the promises we made during our struggle. This is what makes us real SPLM, because we are for implementing the real program of SPLM. Those who are not implementing the programs of SPLM, those who do not believe and are not committed to the core values of SPLM, those who have betrayed the vision of SPLM are not real SPLM. They may carry the name SPLM, but that is only the name. They carry the name SPLM, but they do something different, or maybe even opposite. They are counter SPLM. They are counter revolutionaries, I can say, and that is what is being pursued today by those who call themselves SPLM under the leadership of President Kiir. That is what makes the difference, because President Kiir has lost the vision, has lost the direction, and is implementing policies that are against the vision of SPLM, against and contrary to the programs of SPLM, and he has never led the SPLM as a party or the government, which is called as SPLM government, as a ruling party. He has never led the government or the SPLM to implement the SPLM programs or to take the country towards that vision, for which tens of thousands of our loyal members and committed members have given their lives during the struggle. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, General Pagan Amum, for answering that question. My third question will be your former SPLM Secretary General. Okay. The third question coming up is we know that you were the former Secretary General of the SPLM ruling party, and SPLM party has appointed a new acting Secretary General. If you return today, for instance, if you return to SPLM party today, will you accept to resume your position as the SPLM Secretary General?
Well, I was elected in the second convention of the SPLM as Secretary General.
Yeah.
But in 2013, as you said, I was suspended, put under house arrest, denied to speak in public, to speak to the media. That is to say, denied my constitutional right of freedom of expression. I was also denied of my constitutional right of freedom of movement, because I was not allowed to travel inside or outside the country, because I criticized the leadership as Secretary General of SPLM. And what I said was expressing the view of the majority of the membership of SPLM and supporters of SPLM. The leadership of SPLM, the political bureau, directed the secretariat of SPLM, the national secretariat of SPLM, to send delegations composed of leaders of SPLM to all over the 10 states and thank the people for their support during the struggle and listen to the people. What do they want the leadership to do at this stage? And that was an exercise that we conducted in 2012, just after our independence. The feedback from the membership and the bases and supporters of SPLM, whom were the majority by that time, was that the leadership has lost vision and direction. that the leadership is taking the country in a wrong direction, that the SPLM government has failed to deliver on all the promises they have made during the struggle, that the SPLM government under President Kiir Mayardit did not deliver on their promises, including that were recently made in 2010 elections. So when this result came, it was shared and discussed by all the leadership, and those who went to the state, who led the delegation to the state, were Dr. Riek Machar as deputy chair of the SPLM, James Waniga as a deputy chair of the SPLM, General Kwal Manyang as a member of political bureau, General Daniel Awet as a member of political bureau, General General Magny Poch as a member of political bureau, Comrade now Honourable Right Honourable Speaker Jemanunu as a member of political bureau, and others. They all went, they listened to the people, they came and reported back. And in their report, it was all over the same from all the 10 states, that the leadership of SPLM has lost direction and has lost the vision of SPLM. There is need to return to the vision. There is need for the SPLM to reorganize itself and to deliver on the promises it made during the struggle. That is to say, to build a state that is capable to bring services to the people, a state that is capable to secure the country and to protect the lives and properties of the citizens, a leadership that is capable, when it is in the government, to build the infrastructure, to use part of the oil money to develop agriculture with agricultural programs, targeting small producers, targeting medium-sized mechanized agriculture, or building agro-industrial complexes, so that we don't depend only on oil. After the discussion in the political bureau, I followed this discussion with a discussion with the chairman of SPLM as the Secretary General. Now we need to turn all this into policies, into programs that will lead to change. That will also make the SPLM change its style of leadership, but also that will make SPLM more responsive to its basis and its membership, and the views and opinions and positions that are developed by the people, and criticism as well. That is where the problem or the disagreement between me and the chairman of the party got very wide. And these discussions, of course, were away from media. In these discussions, we could not agree on the way forward. The chairman of the party was obstructing the reorganization of the SPLM. The chairman of the party was opposing the policies of SPLM, despite the fact that he is the one who has the responsibility to implement and oversee and ensure the implementation of the SPLM program in the government. Because he, in 2010, and as always has been the tradition of SPLM, that the chair is the flag bearer and candidate of the party for the government. It is the chair of the party who goes to the people and present to the people his package of promises, which are the position of SPLM. He goes to the people and say, look, vote for me. I am going to do this and this and this and this if you vote for me, if you elect me to become the next president. That is what President Kiir did. So I went to him and said, please begin to implement the promises you have made to the people when they voted for you. You are the one who appoint the government. So appoint cadres of SPLM and cadres from the other parties in the government who are partners of SPLM, with SPLM being the majority, cadres and people who will implement his manifesto, which summarizes the promises he has made to the people when he went to be elected. What was very disappointing was that first, the president rejected the view of the membership and view of the supporters of SPLM that the leadership has lost direction and vision. And he said this was created by the Secretariat, which is not true. It is not created by the Secretariat. And the 10 members of leadership who went to the 10 states are witnesses. They are the one who heard this with their own ears and wrote these things down, views of the people, and reported them. It cannot be created by the Secretariat or by individuals in the Secretariat. That was the most disappointing thing. Then the disagreement went to the point that no, there is no need for restructuring of SPLM to reorganization of SPLM. The president was saying everything was going well. Again, we came to disagree on the question of corruption. I started to speak that there is need to fight corruption and control corruption. The president was not of that view. And from that disagreement, now the president started to speak of declaring war on those whom he feels are criticizing him as the leader. And in one of the meetings, I asked him, I said, Mr. President, you are declaring war on whom now? He said, on my enemies. Who are your enemies? We are comrades in the SPLM. We have struggled together. Now we have a huge responsibility in our hands of beginning to build this country, which has just became independent. Honestly speaking, he told me that I, the Secretary General of SPLM, was on top of that list of his enemies, on whom he is declaring war. And this brings us to early 2013. And the president is still talking about declaring war on his enemies. Then we proceeded with programs to prepare for the SPLM third convention, which was to take place in 2013 itself. And the chairman of SPLM, Comrade Salva Kiir Mayardit, began to obstruct the internal democratization of SPLM and began to suspend and obstruct the holding of the meetings of the organs of SPLM. You may remember that one time he decided to decree that the National Liberation Council, the political bureau, are dissolved. Then he decided again to change his mind and bring them back. Then he again suspended the meetings of the political bureau while we were engaged in a serious effort to democratize the SPLM from within. With these policies pursued by President Kiir and his effort to suppress.
Go ahead. Hello? Go ahead, General Pagan. We lost the audio. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Adjust the audio. We will be back for the short break, waiting General Pagan Amum to come back. We have to play one of the music as a break, Legend Emmanuel Kembe.
Going to the promised land.
I hope we can hear you now.
I hope so. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Very good. Thank you so much. Pick up from where you left it before, and then you go for the next. Yeah.
Yes. So, in the end, President Kiir obstructed the reorganization of SPLM. President Kiir went against the program of SPLM. President Kiir lost the vision of SPLM, or actually betrayed the vision of SPLM. And therefore, I do not think I can be a Secretary General of a party that is against the vision of SPLM, a party that is implementing policies that are contrary to the programs, the values for which we have struggled as SPLM. What President Kiir is leading is not actually SPLM. It is only SPLM in name. Only SPLM in name, but not vision, not program, not anything that they do on daily basis. So, and that is actually what made me not to be in that position of Secretary General. I left it. You remember that in 2015 I went back after we signed the Arusha agreement to reunite the SPLM and to return to the vision. But I found out that President Kiir was not for really returning to the SPLM vision and programs. He has gone in totally a different path altogether. So what they are having is just SPLM in name, but not SPLM indeed. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, General Pagan Amum, for answering that question. We will follow it up later, and the viewers will judge for the answers. The next questions, since the 2013 crisis in South Sudan, you went through difficulties, you have been detained as you have become a former detainee, which is known as G10. And recently you you are allying with the Soma, and Soma begin to make peace progress with the government in Rome. Unfortunately, Soma is split into two at the Rome talks. What is the reason Soma is split? What do you think of what is going on now? There is a peace process going on as they are trying to implement revitalize peace agreement. But there are still killing, like innocent nuns, the sisters who were killed along the normally Juba Road. How about the President Kiir also suspending the Rome Agreement? These three questions, you need to answer them for me and the audience.
Thank you. Yes, I was part of G10 or the former detainees. And by the way, it is not an organization that we created. We were detained by President Kiir because we were calling for reforms, we were calling for change, we were calling for end of corruption, we were calling for implementation of SPLM program and vision. That is why we were detained. That was an act to suppress the voices that were calling for change within the leadership of SPLM. And that is how we were detained. Of course, you remember we were falsely accused of having committed treason against the state, and we were taken to court. and the government representative, people like Michael McQuay, would say that as far as they are concerned, we are going to be sentenced to death. The only thing that will be decided will be how will we be sentenced to death, whether by hanging by rope or shooting by fire squad. That will be the only thing that will be decided. Of course, that was not true, and all these attempts to persecute us or to murder us was just attempt to eliminate political enemies or people with whom you disagree with, even though you were within one party. But that has failed in the court because the court decided to be independent despite the various attempts by the executive, by the president himself, to manipulate the court. And we were set free because the case of the government collapsed and failed. The government failed to prove its case in the court. So we won the case and we were set free. And the four of us whom were taken to court, two of us decided, Dr. Manyanga God and myself, decided that we are remaining in the country and we will continue to work to stop the war that started, just recently started in December 2016, 2015, 2013, sorry, to stop this war, and that we will be engaging the parties to the conflict, to the war itself, which were the SPLM in government and the SPLM in opposition at that time. Unfortunately, President Kiir decided to exile us. He decided to send us to Kenya, and you have listened to him in recent interviews expressing disappointment and disagreement with His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta for the way we were received in Kenya. So we are outside the country. No, I'm now outside the country not because of choice, but it was because I was exiled. Yes, I continue in exile because the condition and the situation inside the country does not have a space for any work of political, to bring political peaceful change in the country as we wanted it. But of course, that was a struggle. Had we not, if we were not to be pushed outside the country, we would have remained in the country, and we would have led the opposition from there. But that is what happened. So when after the Khartoum peace agreement was signed, or the revitalized peace agreement was signed, we opposed it. And those groups which did not agree with the agreement, the revitalized agreement, formed themselves into SOMA. And that is how we established and created SOMA, South Sudan Opposition Movement Alliance. We established it in The Hague. And unfortunately, we split into two groups. And the reason for the split was actually a disagreement on how the allies relate to each other. One part of the group took the position that one of the members, SSUF in this case, was engaged in contacts with the government, and that they have violated the charter of the organization, which we were actually developing by that time. And there were views also, differences in the views on issues around the charter itself, where SSUF had different views from others or the rest of us. But then the group that took the position that they can suspend and dismiss a member of the alliance, and wanting to dismiss SSUF from the alliance, we opposed it. We said, no, you don't dismiss an ally, and also you don't restrict political activity of any ally engaging in contacts or other, provided that they have not chosen to leave the organization or work against it. So you don't dismiss. And this is where we disagreed. Unfortunately, it led to SOMA becoming split into two parts. Since then, we have worked to reunite our efforts. We are still hopeful that we will unite. We have resumed engagement and contacts in the last round of talks in Rome. And I believe some of these issues have been also resolved by time, because the fear that there was an organization trying to reach an agreement with the regime, it is now proven not to be the case. And therefore, the ground for SOMA to reunite, particularly at this critical time, chances are also high. But despite the split within SOMA, our position remained the same in negotiations with the government, and despite the fact that two parallel negotiating processes emerged within the Sant'Egidio initiative, but yet the agenda more or less is the same for SOMA, and it is around addressing the root causes of the problem in the country, and which we believe is the divisions in the revitalized agreement. Now, you asked the question about the revitalized peace agreement. First of all, this revitalized peace agreement is not being implemented, and that was our view right from the beginning, that this agreement is not going to be implemented by the government of President Kiir, because if you look around and what is associated with the revitalized peace agreement, you will realize that actually the revitalized peace agreement was compromised by the government of Sudan, the former government of President Omar al-Bashir. What President Omar al-Bashir did was basically to invite all the opposition to Sudan including Dr. Riek Machar, SPLM-IO, and the FDs, SOA, and other political parties. The other political parties were in Juba. Now, in June, specifically on the 5th of June 2018, President Bashir sent a delegation to Juba. A delegation composed of the Minister of Defense, then, who became the head of state briefly, Awad ibn Auf, then General Salah Ghosh of the National Security, Mahmoud Ahmed Dardiri of Foreign Minister of Sudan, then the Minister of Petroleum. They went to Juba, met with President Kiir, and gave a message to President Kiir, basically a threat to President Kiir by Bashir, that if President Kiir does not accept their demand, they were going to support the opposition and remove him, all the opposition. And unfortunately, President Kiir gave in to those demands, where Sudan will be paid $5 billion and another 1.2 billion, 1.8 billion, and the Sudanese will take the oil produced in Unity State, the Nile blend, and pay themselves. Then Sudan will deploy security forces to the oil fields and technicians to rehabilitate the oil fields. Now, and for South Sudan to pay compensation to Sudan for the war in Hijlich. And they said they had made the estimates, calculated the estimate of how much it has costed Sudan, which is in billions. When President Kiir gave in to these demands by Sudan, immediately President Bashir and his team decided to hurriedly force the parties to sign that agreement, in which the priority was the interest of Sudan above peace in South Sudan. And that is a major problem with the revitalized peace agreement. That even the parties were not allowed to discuss the draft. They were just forced to come and sign. They tried with the first draft, which is called the Khartoum Declaration, which was so bad that the parties had to beg President Bashir that this will not be accepted by the people of South Sudan. I'm sure you have seen the draft of the Khartoum Declaration, where Sudan was talking more about oil than about peace in South Sudan. So that is a problem. So what happened, and as this is confirmed by President Kiir recently, he said that this revitalized peace agreement was designed not to be implemented, which is showing actually his agreement with Bashir. Because Bashir basically said, well, I am bringing all these people to Juba you don't need even to implement this agreement. And President Kiir took it in that sense. And that is a big problem. Of course, what is contained as in terms of clauses and chapters of the agreement are the same programs and agreement of 2015, which we signed in Addis Ababa. And President Kiir has been obstructing the implementation of all those programs of peace, whether it is implementing programs of reform of the state organs and institutions and building of the institutions of the state, organs of the state. And President Kiir is opposed to that because he wants to continue with the status quo as it is, with the regime that he has, and consolidate it. President Kiir is opposed to implement the economic governance program of introducing transparency and building institutions that will manage our public resources transparently and accountably. And President Kiir is opposed to that because he is used and he wants to continue the system with too much discretion, particularly discretion in his own hands and with him, where he decides how to allocate resources by himself. And he is not ready to allow for transparency and for accountability. You can just see the situation that is continuing now. Take, for example, in the area of use of the oil revenues. President Kiir alone, without consulting the parliament, and the parliament is the body of the representative who has the power of deciding how resources are implemented based on proposal by the government. But the parliament is the last authority on this. But President Kiir, without consulting with the parliament, without even discussing with his own executive power, with his own executive or the government, he decided that 10,000 barrels, later on he increased it to 30,000 barrels of oil, will be sold to China, and the revenue will be used to build roads. He went to China, he made that agreement, and he negotiated contracts with some Chinese company. With some Chinese companies, and also allocated to himself, to his own companies, to build some of those roads. Again, without this being budgeted for and voted for by the parliament, without the cabinet voting for them or discussing them in the beginning. And he proceeded without even bidding or respecting the public procurement law. He allocated to his own companies to build these roads. So that is to himself. He's the one building this road. He decides how much 1 kilometer is costing. Like the road from Bor to Juba, 1 kilometer is put at $5 million. When a kilometer in this situation is $1 million. And if you make it a 4-lane road or 6-lane road, maybe it may become $2 million. Now they make it $5 million. So there is looting that the president himself is engaged in, big looting. That is why he does not want accountability. That is why he does not want transparency. That's why he's opposed to this clause of economic governance chapters. President Kiir is opposed to Chapter 5, where it has been agreed from the 2015 agreement to again in September 2018 agreement in Khartoum to implement the justice and accountability. And possibly because he fears to be held accountable for the killings that happened under his orders in 2013 in Juba, and of course other places. And the president goes to spend also millions of dollars in hiring lobbying firms to obstruct the establishment of the hybrid court. And you have heard about gainful consultancy, gainful outcome or gainful results, I think, consultancy of former Ambassador Michael Renenberger, who was involved in South Sudan, to block the establishment of lobby to block the establishment of their hybrid court. Lastly, and this is more serious, President Kiir is supposed to implement Chapter 2, which is the security arrangement, the issue of not wanting to build a national army composed of all the people of South Sudan, representatively from all the counties, and you build a national army that is to protect the whole nation and the territorial integrity of South Sudan. President Kiir wants to have an army which is his own army to protect him as a president, and not an institution to protect the whole country, and not to be involved in internal wars in the country. Our army should not be fighting civil wars, and we should not be engaged in killing ourselves. We can oppose ourselves, but we do it peacefully, not by war.
How about the killing going on in the normally Juba roads?
Yes, this is a major problem. We condemn all the killings of civilians, innocent civilians, on the roads and elsewhere, anywhere. We condemn the killing even by the so-called unknown gunmen in Juba that has been happening. We condemn the killings that are being carried out by militia, like the killings by the Padang militia of the Shuluk in Malakal, when they were celebrating receiving the new governor, and when they were basically participating in a process of building peace under the revitalized peace agreement, or any killing elsewhere. We are against that. Now, the last killing in on the roads in Juba, the killing of the nuns, it is questionable, because if you listen to some statements of the survivors on that road, there are indications that actually this could have been something done by a government force itself. And this requires an investigation. Up to now, decisions have been made without investigating exactly who is that, who carried out those killings. You have Citizen, you have the UN. The UN and Citizen should be allowed to investigate. At least they would be independent and find out exactly who is responsible for the killing. President Kiir withdrew from the Rome talks, or withdrew the government from Rome talks, on the claim that Soma and particularly NAS are responsible for this, without bringing proofs. Nobody has claimed the responsibility, and therefore there is need to establish factually and objectively who carried this out. And it is easy to establish that. And therefore the decision of the government is ill-advised. What should happen is for Soma and the government, for Soma to join the Citizen and the monitoring of the cessation of hostilities. All of us have agreed, Soma and the government have agreed to create a conducive environment for these talks to address the root causes of the problem. We have agreed to recommit ourselves to the cessation of hostilities, which we signed in 2017. All of us have agreed to take steps, including our side of Soma, were to organize a workshop in September for monitoring the cessation of hostilities itself. Why would you stop that? And that is in the direction of making peace a reality in the country. So the position of the government is ill-advised.
Yeah, you mentioned that the rumors that will be the government who is behind the killings of these two nuns in Numli Juba Road. Is there any verifications, or because all of the armies, they can use the same ammunitions, the same uniforms of the government or the rebel or oppositions, they still sharing the things. What can justify it here that is the government who may be behind it, and why?
And that is why we are saying let an investigation be carried out first before you make decision, because it looks very strange that almost the same day the incident happened, a condemnation by the president in a statement, a press release was issued without having made an investigation. You cannot just assume.
Correct.
Then secondly, some survivors have spoken about what type of people and who came into the bus and all that, and the whole thing, how did it happen, how they wanted to burn the bus and the other car was burned down. All this tells you that there is need then for instituting immediately an investigation. And particularly when there are institutions in the country engaging both the government and the opposition, why would you not allow them to investigate? Like the UN is there. Why would you not allow the UN to go and visit the area and investigate immediately?
All right.
Then you jump to the conclusion. Thank you.
No worry. Thank you so much, Honorable Gerald Pagan Amum. We appreciate the response to you. And before I give the floor to my brother Bolma Kurashen, we will be having a commercial break. And don't go away, you, our viewers. Just share the video and stay tuned. We're coming back. Sudan Mujaja Anuna for Crisis is the song from our brother Gordon Kong will come. Yeah.
بلدنا جبان من زمان يا ربنا تعال شوف أيانا بلدنا ما مرجع سودان وجاجا ما فرالينا جالنا ميجي بيننا ربنا بلدنا جبان من زمان يا ربنا تعال شوف أيانا بلدنا ما مرجع سودان وجاجا ما فرالينا جالنا ميجي بيننا ربنا يا جاسوسنا يا وانا جدكم بلد فيهم مشاكل قلبي جنتا من جنتا قلبي جنتا يا جاسوسنا يا وانا جدكم بلد فيهم مشاكل قلبي جنتا من جنتا قلبي جنتا يا وانا جدكم بلد فيهم مشاكل قلبي جنتا من جنتا قلبي جنتا أنا تكيل أجانكم يا سودان شدلكم يا جماعة شدلكم يا جماعة ربنا بساعد أنا بكيل أجانكم يا سودان شدلكم يا جماعة شدلكم يا جماعة ربنا بساعد Our land and comfort certainly are windy because of war between us. Our children germinate among of other love. Our land living in Sudan, not our God. Come and stop with that shit, our land not comfort. So this days are windy because of war between us. Our children germinate among of other love. Sudan, Sudan, be careful, we all have problems. When will I be happy? And be happy, when will I be happy? You Sudanese, be careful, we all are problem. When will I be happy? Tell me happy, when will I be happy? I'm crying about you. Sudanese, be careful, my people, who take care my mind. God bless you. I'm crying about you. Sudanese, be careful, my people, who take care my mind. God bless you. Arsidamna jinuda yaude shalmenu alayla jinuda fiyalna yalla yawana fi Sudan jadi jawlena salam. Arsidamna jinuda yaude shalmenu alayla jinuda fiyalna yalla yawana fi Sudan jadi jawlena salam. سيبوا مشاكل بيناتكم هاي من زمان في جنوبنا في ناس كتير بيموت سنبلة عليه لما في عيطة بيموت سنبلة السودان سلام يجمل قلوبنا ما دايرين قبلها دمنا واحد وربنا واحد ما في قبلها بيننا. سيبوا مشاكل بينكم هاي من زمان في جنوبنا الناس كتير بيموت سنبلة علينا ما في عيد بيموت سنبلة السودان سلام يجمل قلوبنا ما دايرين دبرها دمنا واحد وربنا واحد ما في قلبية بيناتنا.
Thank you so much, Gordon Kong, one of the South Sudanese legend artists, is now here with me in Australia for that great song. I appreciate everything that you have said in that lyrics. Coming back to our guests of honor, General Pagan Amum Okec, will give the floor now to my brother, Bolma Kuraishan, to take over and ask if there are some few questions he has to ask General Pagan. Bol, welcome. No, yeah, you were not muted. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Isaac, and our viewers. I welcome General Mr. Pagan Amum to the State Media, and I am very excited for the answer that he gives. Public will judge, and I watch him and listen to him very closely. Mr. Pagan, you said that you went to the president, because I was listening to one of your question that you answered, and I have something that I want to follow up from that. You said you went to the president and told him that there is need to fight corruption, and yet in the country you are being accused among 75 corrupted officials, and in addition accused of taking money of the SPLM, that is of the SPLM, of the SPLM. What is your take on this issue of corruption leveled against you in the country?
Thank you very much for this question. I have been asked this question very repeatedly by many people in the media for the last 8 years. First of all, if I am corrupt, why would I speak against corruption? Secondly, when President Kiir asked Arthur Quinn to falsely tarnish my name and image, accusing me that he had transferred himself. He said he transferred it to my account. And when he was asked, why did you transfer it? He said it was instructions from above. I took Arthur to court. I went to court to protect my name. And I won the case against Arthur, and Arthur was fined for labeling me and falsely accusing me that he has sent money, lying that he has sent money, he has transferred money to my account. So in the court, he was.
We lost him, right?
Yes, he drove off.
It's a network issues. Sorry.
It's network, and we would like to request him to have his headphone, because
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, in the court, he was asked to produce documents showing that he transferred money to my account, personal account, according to him, and he failed to produce any document. Again, the SPLM Secretary of Finance was in the court and was asked whether there is any money of SPLM that is taken by me, and the answer is that no single penny was taken by me or anybody else. So no SPLM money is embezzled or stolen. And this has been proven, even despite all the attempt to spoil my name and character assassinate me. With all the investigation that President Kiir instituted, they came out with a report showing exactly how much money SPLM is having, it went where, and there is not single word saying that Pagan Amum took this much money or took any money from the SPLM. This is the report of President Kiir when he was trying to destroy my name, because I was speaking out for the need to stop corruption in South Sudan. This policy of zero tolerance to corruption that President Kiir uses repeatedly
We fall off again.
There's a network issues.
Yes, network issue.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Go ahead, General. Hello? Do you hear us, General Pagan?
Don't know what's happening. Yes?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you, but I think the network issue is the problem now here.
Okay. So the zero tolerance to corruption are just words that the president used actually to cover up for the grand corruption that is there. Now, you mentioned 75 officials accused of corruption. In actual fact, it is a letter that the president has written to all the ministers, former ministers, politicians, director generals, undersecretaries, directors, all of them in the government of South Sudan, and also governors. And this is a blanket accusation without the president coming out clearly to charge each and every one. You, Pagan, or Victoria, or Madame Wood, or anybody else, you have embezzled this much money at this time, and this is a money that was supposed to be used for this, and you have diverted to your own private account or interest. This is how you fight corruption. You just don't write a letter, please, if you have taken any money, return it. You need to investigate first. Now the president is responsible for appointing his government. He is the head of the state. It is the responsibility ends up with him. He has institutions which have been created by the parliament to fight corruptions. Why not use these institutions to charge people and then take them to court? He's not doing that. Why? It's because
He fall off again. Yeah, just let's wait and see when he comes in. He has been failing off. The network issue is be blamed, and the things are moving forward. We know the way the peace has to come is through talking. Yeah, here is coming. The network general is just a bit disturbing. You just go complete your questions, and then Bol will ask you some few more.
So really, why there is no investigation, why there is no serious
General,
legal measures being taken based on concrete.
General,
Yes.
General, Mr. Pagan Amum, is it okay if we can ask you to put your headset? Because the echo came back.
Are we okay?
Yes.
Is it clear now?
Yes, very clear now.
Very clear. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So really, the 75 people are innocent, and President K wrote those letters to cover up for the real corrupt group that is associated with him. And therefore, we should just dismiss them. Because even President Kiir himself, when he went to the parliament to inaugurate that parliament, during that time, it was James Wani, Dr. James Waniga, who was the speaker. And Dr. James Waniga, in his comment welcoming the president, appreciated the letter he has written to the 75 and called for the need to prosecute these 75 officials. The president, in his answer, he said, no, he did not write. He denied that he has written a letter to the 75 and that he does not know what James Wani is talking about. When in actual fact, in his own speech, he had a reference to the 75, telling the parliament that he has written to officials to return the money that is simply put is stolen. And that was in his written speech. He denied that he does not know what James Wani was talking about. James Wani was forced to go and photocopy the letter and distributed it to the embarrassment of the president. That was in the parliament. That shows that President Kiir has never been serious about fighting corruption. Why? Because he is the most corrupt himself. Accusing others of corruption, covering up for his corruption, refusing to take legal measures to use the anti-corruption so that we fight corruption through proper investigation and establishing facts. President Kiir is using the fight against corruption as a political tool against anybody who speak up against the wrong things being committed under his leadership. And you will see, for example, anybody who says he is agreeing with President Kiir today, he goes back, he is appointed back as a minister. Yesterday, he was being accused of corruption. And I give you myself as an example. In 2015, I returned back to Juba as a Secretary General and took over my positions and work as Secretary General. And these stories of corruption disappeared, totally disappeared. At that time, I was a clean man. I was a good man. I was the right Secretary General, expecting me to do this and that as the Secretary General and all that, and welcoming me back. What happened to the accusation and the charges? What happened to these stories of being part of the 75? It has disappeared. Does it mean that if a thief, say you are with President Kiir today, you are a clean man, you are not a thief again? That is how President Kiir is using this story of corruption. And after all, let us call for forensic investigation. Let us do total auditing of all the money and everything that came to South Sudan from 2005. And let this investigation be independent and neutral, not under President Kiir control.
It paused. Can we drop him and bring him back?
I think we are back.
Yeah, we're back. Keep going.
So let there be an independent, including international audit and forensic investigation about all the corruption in South Sudan. And let us see who will end up being prosecuted for corruption.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Mr. Pagan Amum. This is a question, Junubin, there is Mamina. Now you clean yourself. It's good to clean yourself, because people will ask in the bushes, and it's very hard to find you so you can clarify about the corruption in front of Junubin. Now, you don't have no problem because you have speak out and you have said that I went to Juba, I was put as Secretary General, and Ukalam disappeared. And you challenge that, okay, if I am now a Secretary General, why I'm not called thief anymore? Junubin will hear that, and so it's up to Junubin anyway, not up to me. They were the one requesting us to bring you so they can hear it from you. Thank you. We have another question coming on the road. It's about Junubin suffering. Ugana alkan kudu asa de albugul Junubin Sudan majaja inter semitu. Ya ben. People of South Sudan have really suffered for a long time. Yet you look to be fighting on with the government of the Republic of South Sudan. What do you want to offer to the people of South Sudan more than the Khartoum revitalized peace agreement? Tell us about this.
Thank you. First of all, the people of South Sudan are suffering in the hands of the government. The government is the one causing this suffering first and foremost. President Kiir is the one who took this country to war against our call on him not to take the country to war. President Kiir is the one who introduced violence in the political life of South Sudan as an independent country. Barely 2 years as independent, and then he plunged us into war. Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So what we really need is for this war to stop. You need a transition to peace. You need a transition to democracy. President Kiir is obstructing that. Now our people are calling for President Kiir to step aside. And I join the call of our people to call on President Kiir to please step aside. And I would even add, let all the politicians in the country, including myself, the politicians in the government, the politicians in the opposition, to please let us step aside. Let us sit, all of us together, in a round table and agree for the formation of a government of technocrats, a government of South Sudanese professionals to lead and manage the transition. We can agree on how long that transition will be. And that government of technocrats will have the support of our region, the IGAD, the continent, the African Union, and also will have and win support from the international community to stabilize the country, rebuild the institutions of our states, oversee the making of our permanent constitution, and then organize a free and fair election. That government of technocrats, not a government led by any politician, because this will take us out from these repeated failed transitions under President Kiir. We have formed transitional governments how many times now, led by President Kiir, and every time they have failed. And we then go for another government led by President Kiir, and it fails. It fails to implement the agreements because of political interest and lack of political will. Many governments have been formed and they have failed to take us to peace and to democracy. That is why the call of our people for President Kiir to step aside is a very important call, and we should all rally behind that. That is what will end the suffering of our people. Under this government, our people's suffering is increasing from day to day. It is getting worse even. That is what I see.
Thank you, General Mr. Pagan Amum. By the way, you are carrying the title General, not from today. You're carrying it since we were in the bushes with you. And the reason why you're carrying that title is not easy. We were sweating. So, and that's when you get that title in the SPLM. And the reason why you're carrying that title is because of this country. You know, you struggle so hard so we can get independent. Have you made a plan that you have South Sudan to be put under UN? Under UN supervision?
In 2015,
is that true?
In 2015, when the talks were not going anywhere, and when the parties to the conflict were refusing to agree to the talks, I put forward a proposal that was in 2015, a proposal to form a government of technocrats under the UN support, like what happened in East Timor, more or less like what happened in Sierra Leone, more or less like what happened in Liberia. But of course, everyone is different from the other. And this is to end the suffering of our people, and a government, a transition that will be for 1 or 2 years, and then we will stabilize the country, put it back on its feet, and hand the power to the people. who will elect their government periodically in free and fair elections. East Timor today is stable, has been stable for more than 12 years now, and they are out of all these wars, and they are engaged in development of their country and their people. That was a proposal at that time. Of course, it was rejected by many, especially those in the government, claiming that we are independent, we cannot compromise our sovereignty, and all this. Look, you cannot blackmail us about our independence. We are the one who struggled for this independence. We are not strangers to it. Even for the referendum, as a person, I went into detention and imprisoned by the National Congress to force them to allow the referendum law to pass in the parliament, for the referendum to take place on time. We did that, and that was a struggle. So I was part of it. It's not something that I was strange to. What is more important is that our independence and sovereignty is in the hands of the people. It has been usurped and taken away from them. Our state is supposed to be a state to serve the people. This state has been hijacked by cliques who are only pursuing their own self-interest and enrichment. That is a problem. And that is the context within which that proposal came. Today, the people now are calling for President Kiir to step aside, calling for change, calling for a government of technocrats today. And it is getting more and more wider, not few voices like it used to be, very few of us in the past, in the last 7 years or 7 years ago, for example. Now it is a popular demand by our people. And it is the only way out, because the government of national unity formed by the former parties to the conflict has failed. Has failed largely because President Kiir obstructs any change, because he is interested in perpetuating himself in power. He wants to continue as a dictator without any change. And that is the problem.
Thank you. I want to just, it's not a question from what I have drafted. It's a follow-up that I just made from your conversation with me about President Kiir, things that he have done. And you are one of the leaders that want to come into this power. If you comes to this power, what are your first priorities that will be differ from Kiir priorities?
First of all, now I do not want to come to power. What I'm saying is that President Kiir, Dr. Riek Machar, and myself and anybody, other leaders, I'm saying let us all step aside for the time being. Let us agree and work together for a government to be established by our professional South Sudanese. And we have so many South Sudanese non-political or non-politicians, but professional in their fields and experts in their field, who can help South Sudan to stabilize, to rebuild the institutions, to build the constitution, our permanent constitution, our rule of law, and also begin to build our other national institutions, including our security institutions, and the need to carry out security sector reforms so that you can have a proper rule of law and proper establishment of a national army that is not involved in politics, that is not involved in supporting one civilian leader or another, but an army that is engaged in defending the country. So that is the message, that if the shortest way to stabilize the country is for the politicians to step aside. The politician will come at a later stage when they use this time of transition to organize themselves. Anybody who is interested, like myself, to serve the people, have to submit himself or herself to the will of the people in the free and fair elections. If you are elected, then you serve and you put forward your program. This is what I want to do if you elect me. So the question that you are asking me now is not a question for immediate moment. It is a question that you will ask me as we are going for elections. And you will ask me that question, and I will definitely answer you, but not to confuse you, so that people may start to begin to think, oh, okay, this is what Pagan want to bring now. Let us make him the leader in the transition. No, this will complicate the issues of the country. What we are saying now, all of us, let us step aside. Let us give chance to our experts to rebuild the institutions in a professional way and also in a neutral way, without political interest, without working to design the system to favor President Kiir or to favor Pagan Amum or to favor Dr. Riek Machar or to favor Susan Jambor or anybody else.
Thank you. In a recent revitalized agreement that going on in Juba, some of the detainees are supporting the peace agreement. What are your views about their participation?
Well, not actually some of them. The majority of the former detainees chose to join the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. Unfortunately, that agreement is not being implemented well. There's a lot of delays in it, and the core programs are not being implemented, are being obstructed. I am also not seeing the former detainees who have gone to implement the agreement being involved in the discussion of how to implement that agreement. I am not hearing them. I don't know whether you hear them, but of course they are. I'm sure they are trying their best, and I am in contact with most of them, and I hope they will be able to contribute to bring peace. But of course, I see this as beyond them, because the main obstruction is from the main party, or the party of the in the government, the SPLM or the SPLM in the government. That is what I'm saying.
Thank you. You went to Naibacha, I believe 2 months ago. You went to Nairobi, and from Nairobi you went to Naibacha, where government had a huge negotiations with you and Mr. Paul Malone. What was the outcome?
We signed a declaration of principles. I will send it to you. But it is a declaration of principle that will be the framework for the negotiations of the root causes of the conflict in South Sudan. That is what we signed, and we followed that with agreeing and signing the agenda and timetable for the negotiations between September to November. Unfortunately, of course, now the government has decided to pull out from these talks, which is advised, which is wrong. It will not serve.
Yeah, the network is not that good. He drove off while we're waiting for him to come in. We will be playing some film music. Emmanuel Kembe, Nebini Dolna Sawa. We need to develop our country together.
Together, Dalu lovely belly together. Dalu lovely belly together. I say together, Dalu lovely belly together. Dalu lovely belly together. Yeah, you are. Masa moyenda takiasha. Akima atakana wosuka. Yayama, mata shilhu ketir yauke. Akima atakana wosuka. Together, Dalu lovely belly together. Dalu lovely belly together. I say together, Dalu lovely belly together. Dalu lovely belly together. Yakwana, Kalila man situ, Kalini nama wasu inama. Yakwana, Kalila man situ, Kalini nama wasu inama. Kalila zakira yamu udia, Kasa pananga kanifikasyon dinsa. Kalila zakira yamu udia, Kasa inanga kanifikasyon dinsa. Ashakila nina wasulu, Akirma atatana, Nina wasulu, Akirma atatana, Apana alisa kenenu, Kalila ulu, Yawe, Akirma atatana wasulu, Akirma atatana wasulu,
Guys, we know our Honorable General Pagan Amum. He has a network issue. He fall up, and we did try.
Let us wait for a few minutes, guys. So he will. I know sometimes we went for 2 hours now, and sometimes the cell phone is head up, and then sometimes it will reject the network. So let us give him a few minutes so that he can. Maybe his phone is out of power, or can switch to a different device. So hang tight. Isaac plays some music so that people can stay listening, and don't go away, guys. We almost come to an end, so our question is coming in. So This time, I would like to tell our viewers that we will not pull up any question you guys asking. I see a lot of questions you guys are asking to us, General Pagan, but we cannot do this at this time because of the network issues, and we go for 2 hours. The interview we scheduled for 1 hour, but we went for 2 hours now. So please be patient. We will be the most of the questions that Lagos State Media has. I think those are the questions that all South Sudanese have in your mind to ask, General. So we will wrap up. So we remain with 1 or 2 questions, then we wrap up the show. So don't go away. Let us wait for the General.
Ya salva, salva. Yo salva, dada shokota zira. Eya misal, me kulu junu bide. Musari bastano, tira kwenu. Musari bastano, tira kwenu ya kwana. Ya salva, dada shokota zira. Eya misal, me kulu junu bide. Musari bastano, tira kwenu. Musari bastano, tira kwenu ya kwana. Dubai itakumwe, Yambio itakumwe, Deri nananas, Nasi mangala wenu, Maga sapsukan, Yaunde mistate, Nekulu judubi, Makwi itakumwe, Simsimapi, Nasi wa wenu, Wilaya wenda wenu, Yaunde misante, Lenas Pimalu, Nina Bikon Reis na, Shaka Shedid, Ani Moroto Mapi, Kipulena, Nina Bikon Reis na, Kiputira, Zuku Hastade, Ajatani Rekis Ashani na Kuruju, Shedidi, Tala Motokarabu, Ruanidam, Lianu Yomtani, it would be our harvest day. Bada Shokota Zira, Eamistan, the Kulu Junubide, Musari Bastano, Tira Kwenu, Musari Bastano, Tira Kwenu Yakwana.
It's very good song. Thank you so much, Kalenuna Kuruju. We need to cultivate. The agriculture is the main resources that all South Sudanese they are looking forward. We don't need to lean on the oil. So we have a lot of resources that we can survive or recovered from the poverty and the hunger that going on in the country. Abraham Bolmakur, Honourable Pagan Amum, I think he has an internet issue. He did not turn up. I don't know. Even Abraham didn't majak. Yep, he is coming. So yeah, what is gonna be? What are we gonna do now? Hello guys, do you hear me?
We hear you. I hear you. I don't know, bad Medit. I reached out to him. And I believe his network got problems. So we might end the show, and we will look forward if we will bring him back near future.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's the announcement. We need to reach out to our viewers. That is not coming back now. We will rearrange. He's coming back to Lake State Media to complete the further questions that were left behind, and also if there are more to come to be asked, the public opinions also will be displayed and will be asked to him. We will never blame him. We will never blame us. We don't blame anybody. It's a network issue, and that is very good to know. Abraham Madid.
So we will end the show, and then we will bring him back again if the network allowed him. So thank you for those who.
Oh, okay, Madid, hold on.
Okay. Isaac, play some music. Go ahead, Isaac.
Okay.
Fakir mada salam, ya rude salam. Morning biga tamam, biga murta, otoro nanjil. Jalam ya, iyunu me betalau, kejejen betalau. Abuba salam ya, mata kore jalam ya, mama salam ya. Salam take, ul fakir salam take, yang majar salam take, panika salam take, tabandenga salam take, ul fakir mada salam, ya ludu salam, onin biga tamam, biga murta, otoro nanjil, salam ya, iyunu me betalau, kejejen betalau, abuba salam ya, mata kore jalam ya, mama salam ya. Salam take, wane konga salam take, jagala salam take, aku jino bulung jalam take, Emmanuel adi salam take, tumkulu salam takun, intumkulu salam takun, etere kulum salam takun, tol fakir mada salam, ya ludu salam, onin biga tamam, biga murta, otoro nanjil, salam ya, iyunu me betalau, kejejen betalau, abuba salam ya, mata kore jalam ya, mama salam ya. Salam take, kal menyang salam take, kal menyang salam take, ay jang mamur salam take, ay jang mamur salam take, kal fakir mada salam.
Yes, welcome back.
I am coming to tell the public, the viewers, the message of General Pagan Amum Okec. His phone ran out of power because we request him to use the headphone. So he have no way again to charge his phone, because cell phone now have only one port. That's the same port you use for the headphone, and that's the same port you use for the charging. So when we asked him so he can use the headphone, he couldn't charge his phone again, and his phone went out of power. So, and we will not bring him right now, but later, near future, if the public request him, he will appear in Lake State media, and he congratulate everybody for turning in, and he will not come back again until next time. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you. We would like to thank General Pagan for coming to Lake State Media, and also we would like to thank our viewers for turning in to Lake State Media today. This is what we thank you. Please feel free to like our page. Sometimes we live on YouTube. So this is the public announcement. So we always host people, regardless their political background, whether you are government or opposition. So we welcome here. And also we work, we open this to a government. If the South Sudan government representative who would like to come to Lake State Media to respond to the interview today, Lake State Media did with General Pagan, our invitation is open. So we will always host government or representative in Lake State Media. Our door is open to everybody. Lake State Media is for everyone. We don't deny anybody regardless your tribal background or your political background. We welcome everybody. We are here. We are the voice of our South Sudanese people. Isaac, go ahead and close your statement and we can wrap it up. And thank you all for watching. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Abraham. I would like also to thank General Pagan Amum for coming to Lake State Media and his answers to the questions that are being requested by the public, the citizen of Republic of South Sudan. They need to hear all these questions, but he answered them. And unfortunately, the network didn't allow us to carry on deeply, but we hoped he may come back in the near future to you, public people of South Sudan, to come and complete the answers that you are all yearning to know. So it's my profound gratitude to say thank you so much, Gerald Pagan Amum, for coming to Lagos State Media. This is a platform for everybody, whether you are in opposition or in the government or in mere citizen, entertainments, all the things are just accepted and are played here. We welcome everybody on board to feed or to spread the message to the all citizens of South Sudan. I will take it back to my brother Bolmakur Aishan, and I have to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Isaac. I will not go further. Madida have said it all. We are looking forward to hear from the government. This is how things are being done in the new civilization. People come forward and tell and talk to the citizen, and that's what we are looking forward from our government. Even something that you have done very well, come and explain it to the public that we have done this, and even the roads that you have built. Come to the media and said we have built a road from Juba to Bor, and our people will travel without no insecurities. That's good. So we are looking forward for the government to come, respond, and also tell Junubin some other good things you have done. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Paul. Yes, we will welcome General Malunga in our show too, if he can accept. So it's always, whenever somebody is open to come to Lake State Media, send out the letter, and then we can, because Lake State Media is open to everyone, because we are here to educate our people. So, and also, Lake State Media is here, is supporting peace in Sudan. That's what we need. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful morning. Have a wonderful night. I know Isaac is tired. Have a wonderful.
Very tired. I have to go to bed straight away.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a wonderful day. May God bless
All right.
you. May God bless us.
Thank you.
It's your boy Young giving that thing. Control legislated, Panchir America. Panchir Dwal, Banaban, Control legislated, Panchir America. Panchir Dwal, Banaban, walk on the lake, Kankaro, what on a watching. Koga level, Gear, Power, Lake, Panda. dia e Panchir America, Pania Dolvano, Chingatongo Pandon, Kujura by a checker, Papu Panajuru, dia people. Panchir America, Panjija Dwala, Panapan Panchal Lake State.